So they put me on after the hot lesbian, so I'll try to live up to that. Great, thanks a lot. Yes, I'm the last act, but it kind of puts out like what has always been the case in my life. I am the youngest of 4. If there's anyone else out here who's the youngest of a large family, anyone? All right, you've heard it all before. Oh, the youngest is spoiled. Not true. Who said true? All right, the youngest has it the easiest. Also not true. The youngest is mom's favorite. Obviously, that's true. There's a reason they stopped with us, right? But I'll tell you this, it wasn't always easy being the youngest. I had older siblings, and let me just tell you, back in my day, I know, I sound old, I am. But back in my day, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have video games. Hell, Nintendo Wii? No, they had a Nintendo Me. That was their game, all right? Weebles Wobble, I fell down. Somehow, whenever we were playing Chutes and Ladders, I ended up on a real ladder somewhere. I don't know. Basically, it was my brother. And, I can't necessarily blame it on him, but let's just say that we kind of got off to a rocky start. So in the beginning, my brother, he wanted a brother. He had 2 sisters, and all he wanted was someone to go out in the backyard, play ball with. So he had heard he was getting a brother. He's psyched. That was the end of the excitement right there. So there it is. I'm coming home from the hospital with my mom. And I mentioned my brother's not quite the smartest bulb on the street. All right. So there he is, 7 years old, sitting on the front step. He's got a ball. He's got a mitt. He got an extra mitt. I don't know where he stole that from, but he got an extra mitt. He's like, this is it. This is the day. I'm getting a brother. We're going to go out in the backyard and play. You can see where this is going, right? So needless to say, when all of a sudden he looks up and he sees my mom and this giant raisin wrapped up in a blanket walking up to the house, he's like, what the hell is that? That's not what I ordered. I ordered a brother. And I remember this to the day. I may have only been 2 days old, but I remember it. And I looked in his eyes and he looked in mine and I was like, oh crap. It's gonna be a long 18 years with this dude. But my brother did have fun with me at times, sort of at my expense. I said he wasn't the smartest, but I always thought he may become a scientist because he liked to experiment. Hey, Tim, here's what we're gonna do. See this coffee tin on the ground? You're gonna get on top of it after I stick the M80 underneath it. What could go wrong? Well, just in case you were wondering, a 5-year-old will fly 11 feet in the air once that M80 is lit. Other experiments, sometimes I thought he was going to be like aerospace because he wanted to put me into space. We had a swing right by the hedges of our neighbors. For some reason, he was convinced he could get me over those hedges by pushing hard enough. I will say this, after multiple attempts and a couple stitches of me going right into the bushes, I never quite cleared the bushes. But I get it. Being the youngest sometimes has its disadvantages, but I will tell you this. Sometimes it's not really advantages or disadvantages, sometimes it's literally just things that are different. Your parents tend to be a little looser, and they tend to abdicate some of their responsibilities. So most of you probably learned how to drive from your parents. Not the case here. My parents were done with that. They were like, you're number 4, like there are some other people in this house that can drive, they can teach you. And yeah, they did to some degree, but I was that kid. I always wanted to volunteer to drive because in my household, if you could drive, you were an adult. It was your ticket to freedom. So here I am one day, my dad's car is in the driveway and there's another car behind him. He needs to get out. He needs a volunteer. I'm like, Dad, I got this. I'll drive. I'll move the car. And he's looking at me. He's like, nah, I don't think you're ready. Now I have to explain the situation. Our driveway is one of those long, windy driveways, 6-foot hedges on both sides, and some sadistic SOB planted a 100-foot oak tree at the end of the driveway. This thing had a giant bullseye. Or I shouldn't say a bullseye, it basically was just chipped out on the bottom where everyone in my family had hit it already. But I got this, because if you can't get out of the driveway, obviously you can't drive. So I'm gonna do this. This is my opportunity. So I go, Dad, I got this. You know, I don't think you do. I go, I got this. So I take the keys, I jump in the car. Now, mind you, that having been taught how to drive by your siblings, there are certain steps. So I get in the car and I'm like, okay, what's step number one? And I know some of you are probably thinking, put on your seatbelt. This was a 1972 station wagon with wooden panels. The back seat, that for some god reason, faced out the back window. So yes, there were no seatbelts in this car. Of course, the first thing I do, you have to find the right song. That's what my brother taught me. It's all about the song. So I'm sitting there and I've got, I was just happy this car had FM radio. So I'm switching through it, like, what do I got? I got it. AC/DC, Highway to Hell. Is there anything more appropriate for this situation right now? I've got this. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling it, I've got this. So all of a sudden I look in the rearview mirror and I see the tree. I'm like, oh crap, that tree. The only thing that I've ever been more nervous about that tree was being here tonight on the stage. So if I can make it through that, hopefully I'll make it through this. So I start backing up. I'm like, I'm looking over my left, I'm looking over my right. I guess that's my left and that's my right. I wasn't really good at directions. So I start looking and all of a sudden, 20 feet to impact. Oh no, here it comes. The tree is coming up closely. I'm backing up, I got this, I can do this. 10 feet to impact. I'm like, I don't know whose voice that is, it's kind of creeping me out, but I'm still gonna do this. All right, so I'm backing up, and sure enough, I get to the end of the driveway, and what happens? I don't hit the tree, come on, give me some credit. Why would I tell that story? I don't hit the tree. I get past the tree, this is it. I am moving on to adulthood. My family will finally accept me. I've got this, and I get past the tree. I'm so excited, I keep going. Across the street, through the neighbor's hedges, and up on the neighbor's yard. So there I am, sitting up on the neighbor's yard. Our hedges and the tree are fine. Neighbors' hedges are toast. I am literally on the front yard of their yard, in the car, and all of a sudden here it happens. My dad starts backing down the driveway. I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm never going to hear the end of it. I'll never be able to drive again. I'll never get the license that I need. And he pulls out parallel, as though he's about to pull away, and he just rolls down the window. And he looks at me, he's like, hey, jackass, at least you didn't hit the tree. And he pulls away. Parenting 101 in the 80s, 70s, 80s. I don't want to date myself there. So here I am up on the front yard of my neighbor's house. My dad has driven away. I will tell you this, that it has taken 20 years of therapy. I still don't know how I got off that yard, and I still cannot listen to Highway to Hell. All right, hey, thank you guys very much.